My name's Thomas Waddle. This is the Whisky Sour Hour, and we're joined again by Calum Petrie. How are you, Calum?
I'm alright. Thank you for having me on again. I noticed that I'm kind of on for long episodes, so I do apologise if this turns into a long one.
It's always when there's kind of something big. It was a Switch 2, proper announcement last time. So Xbox have just finished their big showcase, and there's plenty of messages from that that we've got, like notes wise. I was saying there it's 3 pages worth, so it's probably going to be one of the longer ones. But just to go back to yourself, what's been happening in the kind of meantime since you were last here in episode 10 8 weeks ago?
Oh Christ, that was that long ago. For me, I have just been catching up on some reading and been playing a lot of Expedition 33. Outside of that, just work. Just been quite stressful. So thanks for having me on.
Anything? Sorry, no, I was just going to say, has there been anything writing wise? Have you done anything with? Is it Flickering Myth? Is that right?
Been kind of looking over some comics and stuff, but I've not been writing that much recently.
Life always seems to get in the way of enjoyment, doesn't it?
Work picks up, so the fun side of life seems to take a nosedive for a while, but it'll come back.
That's it. Well, over this weekend, obviously, you and I are of similar ages. That this time of year back in the day was E3, so it was everybody came to the party, and there would just be announcements after announcements, and then the demise of E3, we are at a point now where everybody just kind of does their own thing, but it's all around the kind of same time. So Sony had a state of play. I believe that was Thursday. I think that was. Personally, me, I'm just looking back over the kind of last few days. The only thing that really came out of that was of note was the IO Interactive's James Bond game. I thought the trailer for that looked pretty good. Did you see it?
I've not watched that yet, but I for what I've seen, I think it wasn't well received from the majority. But
my knee jerk reaction was, that's no James Bond. But then when I thought about it, I was like, I didn't know what to expect. Like, who was I expecting to be from? Cause I thought the silhouette kind of picture they put up that was like, oh, we're going to be showing this soon. I thought it was really interesting, and when you see it, I believe the actor is an Irish actor. His name escapes me, Gibson, I think. He plays young Dexter in the Young Dexter TV show. Oh. And the more I see it, the more I'm quite interested by it. He looks very much like if you look, there's a kind of classic drawing, a James Bond scar, kind of cruel smile. The drawing's black and white, but he does have kind of bluey grey eyes. He's got all these things, and It looks fun. It looks fun.
Well, IO, the last thing they really did was Hitman, so I thought James Bond would be a good fit for them, but we'll just need to wait and see what actually comes from it. But no, it's if that was a kind of showpiece of the show, then people must have faith that it's going to be a big game.
I think it probably will be. I mean, the IP for James Bond is huge, and I think gaming, especially since the likes of GoldenEye, but prior to that, I remember having James Bond The Duel on Sega Mega Drive Genesis, if you want to be American, and it was really good. Timothy Dalton was like kind of my favourite, as much as I love Pierce Brosnan. Sean Connery's my favourite. Pierce Brosnan is like my kind of third, and then Timothy Dalton was number 2. But they played out of that, and then for the kind of mid '97, I think GoldenEye came out, and then all the way up until EA, as much as they are kind of hated upon, they made probably my favourite James Bond run of games from Agent Under Fire up till From Russia with Love, and then Activision got it and turned it into Call of Duty. So I never liked that. So looking forward to hopefully IO bringing James Bond back big. You watched the Jeff Keighley show that was on Friday. Do you have any kind of thoughts for that? I don't really see I think the games that were announced never really resonated with myself, and I don't think they're probably your cup of tea as much as what other ones are. So did you have any kind of thoughts coming out of that?
Just thinking back, I didn't sit and take notes because I didn't think we'd be talking about it, but I just remember being incredibly bored during it. Everything was either Souls-like or anime. possibly one of the big things was the new Kojima Death Stranding 2 on the beach. There was almost like a kind of advanced screening of one of the cutscenes from in the game. It's a Kojima game. That's all I got from it, really.
So you're going to have long cutscenes that you'll be able to make a cup of tea and go to the bathroom and get yourself freshened up before coming back and playing the game for 5 minutes before you have to watch another episode of the show.
Well, I once heard somebody say that they'd finished Metal Gear Solid 4, and the first thing they did is they pulled their phone out and they messaged their pal and went, "I loved watching that game."
I tried Metal Gear Solid 4 when I got a PS3. At the end of the game generation, when all the games were like dirt cheap. And as much as I love Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, and 3, I just couldn't get into 4, and I ended up just no playing it. After like the first, act had finished, and even then I think I played it for maybe like 3 hours, and then there was another 3 hours of video that you had to watch to even understand the kind of mad story that they were coming up with. But I think obviously it's definitely not as exciting as E3, but sitting down and when you're getting like a big like Xbox showcase, I think they came to play during this one, and I don't want there to be a pun there. Overall, like we just watched it, we've taken notes. Just your kind of knee-jerk reaction. How were you happy with what you saw? Were you disappointed? Whereabouts does it land for you?
Well, I'm going to start by saying so me and you watched it, and we're currently on a Teams chat just now, talking to each other while recording. We were on the Teams chat while we were watching the event, and we were discussing it as it was happening. And I didn't realise you were taking notes, so you were just very stern sounding through the full thing, and I thought, Christ, he really doesn't like this. But then you're like, that's me just filled in a 4-page of notes, and I was like, all right, no, he's taking notes, okay. No, I enjoyed it. There was definitely a good variety of things. Like, is everything my taste? No. I'd probably say I've got quite a varied taste in games to begin with in the first place, but I definitely think the fact that there's a variety of games, and like Xbox always do, it's always everything's going to be playable on Xbox, and now they've done it, that everything's going to be playable within the next like 18 months. In fact, I don't actually know if they said that, so don't quote me on that. But there was good variety of games. Some things really took my interest, some things like kind of sideswiped me. I wasn't expecting them. So, what was your thoughts on it?
Listen, probably similar to you. Not everything was to my taste, but nor should it be. I think there was a lot of good, and there was a lot of stuff. It wasn't even that I thought it was bad. It was just like, well, I'm not going to play that. And I think, especially having Game Pass and what it brings, I find that you have to be, if you're not enjoying it, just stop. Don't force yourself to play something. And I think when I was younger, I used to do that an awful lot. So if I see something and I'm like, oh, I'll download that. I'll download it, and if I'm not enjoying it after like an hour, I'm just not going to play it. I'll just stop. On the other hand, there's games that are in this show that, I mean, I think it was is it Planet of Lana? I think Planet of Lana 2. I'd never even picked up the first one because I never knew what kind of game it was, and then when I seen that trailer, you explained it to me, and I was like, right, that's going to my list. So there's a lot of stuff there, and there's a lot of stuff to discuss. Like you mentioned the A4 paper. We end up doing 3 pages of A4 paper, so
it's going to be a long one, folks.
There. Strap yourself in. But listen, we'll go through it. But just there was a good variety. I think that's. I don't think for the last probably 2-3 years, and you and I have obviously been through the kind of ringer, being Xbox facing gamers. We've got like you've got access to a PlayStation. I've got a PlayStation 5, but predominantly it's where we do the majority of our gaming, and it was rough for a while, like for probably a decade almost. You're just like, geez, it was like bomb after bomb. Well, and then
you were the most optimistic Xbox person. Like, I'm not going to say you're a fanboy or anything, but you would, any time that things look bad, you're always like, no, but they've got stuff cooking in the background. And I think it was possibly last year I heard you start to kind of wonder if anything was ever actually going to come. And now we've hung on just that little bit extra, and it's paying dividends.
Oh, absolutely. I think if you look at the likes of Game Pass from February, it's just been, I'd say banger, but I mean that positively. It's just been banger after banger, and it's trying to find the time to be able to, sit down and do it. I think if I was like 15 to 19, those kind of years, I probably wouldn't leave the house just because there's that much. But you need to be diligent with your time and budget it. And it's just there's games that I'm like I would love to play. I know I don't have the time to do it. So it's a good predicament to be in. And I think Game Pass is yet again showing why it's and the best deal in gaming, hands down.
It has been. It's been brilliant for my wallet. Fair enough, you get a lot of people saying that it's. I've seen it towards like Expedition 33. Like people are hating it because, not the game, but they're hating the fact that Game Pass is contributing to quite a lot of the players because it doesn't give the full value of the game to, like monetary value to the developers and the publishers for actually making the game, but. All that's kind of fleshed out in the background, and it must come down. I don't know how Game Pass works for companies that put their games on it, whether it comes down to how many people are playing the game for how long, and then does that contribute how much money you earn, or is it just a flat fee that you get from Microsoft for putting your game up on Game Pass?
You probably find it's game by game. I imagine that some games, like smaller companies, would be like, we would love the cash injection right now, so give us, like the money, whereas some people would probably play the long game. It'd be similar to like film directors, like that are like, I would like not to be paid, but I would take 10% of the overall gross. I think that's what was it not George Lucas done something crazy with Star Wars, and that's why he's like a billionaire. No,
so they had no faith in it, so he kept like the merchandising rights.
Yeah. So it's probably something like that. I mean, like I think. That should I was going to say Studio 33 Expedition 33 kind of came out and it set the world on fire, and it didn't seem to. I find games nowadays get announced and then like 6 years later they come out, and we kind of spoke about that a little bit when we were watching the actual show, just how long it takes to make games. Outer Worlds being 6 years almost to the date for the original coming out before the sequel comes out, whereas like Expedition was announced last year, maybe even I think it was last year. I was going to say it definitely wasn't this year, and then it comes out and it just does its job. It's rare these days, to get that, so it's quite good.
Like I did see a YouTube short earlier about that. We're not going to go down a massive sidetrack here, but it was the fact that Expedition 33 has been getting worked on for years, and they showed like alpha footage that they were developing it in Unreal 4, and it looked very much like a PS2 kind of game, because it was just like a kind of proof of concept. But the fact that a cash injection managed to take that game looking from like something from yesteryear to one of the kind of front runners for what visuals should be for modern games from such a small team is just outstanding. That's my gushing of Expedition 33 over with now.
It is one that I want to sit down and give time to, because when my first thought, and again, not going down a rabbit hole with this, is when you see the trailer of it, and I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but The Batman is my favourite movie, and Robert Pattinson, I thought, is he in this? Is this him in this game? And the character just happens to look almost exactly like him.
No, but
from The Lighthouse.
But it is Charlie Cox from Daredevil.
Aye, Daredevil, yeah. So I will give it time. I've been told it's quite heavy, and if I'm not really in the mood for anything too depressing at the moment, so it's maybe one to hold off to when I'm feeling a bit more positive and I've got positivity to shed.
Yeah, the whole mortality thing lingers over you from the very beginning of the game, so yeah, it punches hard out the gates.
Yeah, no, so it's one that I'll give it time, but it's on Game Pass, and we'll go over that. We'll try our best to make sure that all the games that all the announcements that we come across, we just let you know whether it's coming to Game Pass. The one thing I will say is everything is going to be Xbox everywhere, which is the kind of new thing that you can play it, on your phone, television, and the ROG Ally, which we'll get to, which is pretty cool. So we'll go over that, but we shall start for the top, if that's okay with yourself, Calum. Are we ready to go?
You say top, I'm scrolling down to the bottom here. yes, I'm ready to go.
You've got your controls inverted, get that changed. So yeah, right. Show starts, kicks off. Outer Worlds 2. We're given a release date. I believe it was
Sorry,
October.
Thomas. I'm going to have to stop you. I think you'll find the pre-show had some pretty serene images of some fishing going on in Fallout 76.
Is that what that was?
Yeah, it was.
I think when we were doing that, I did think that myself. I was like, what is that? So going fishing. we will talk about that.
All your regular listeners are going to be like, he just corrected Thomas. Tell him to fuck off.
Sorry, what was it you said? Something that you were carrying the podcast, and somebody came up to me and says, "Oh, that was dead funny," and I was like, "Was it I? Was that?" So and that is true. That did happen. So at least people are listening to it. That's the main thing. But Outer Worlds 2, Obsidian, coming out October 29th this year, so that'll be one of the kind of bigger I was nearly saying fall games there. I was like, somebody's going to come and dropkick me when they see us. Kind of the autumn, kind of end of year games, winter, shall we say. So yeah, I've played the first one, you've played it as well. I think we both agree that the first one felt almost kind of hamstrung just because it was a smaller scale game, which isn't a bad thing. It just... The feeling of it felt like Fallout, but with a budget for like Wasteland, it was just that little bit. It was too small, I thought, for what they were trying to do.
But Obsidian will crank out a good game.
Oh yeah, I mean, I mean this in the most respectful way. The Outer Worlds 2 is the most 7 out of 10 game you'll ever play, and it's great. No, there's nothing wrong with that. It's a good 30 hours, I think, you can kind of get that cranked out at. And when you play games, especially Obsidian and RPGs and the kind of Bethesda, Fallout, Elder Scrolls kind of games, you expect to be putting in, triple figures. So to get, that, it's like your South Park RPG games, like they're the right length, the perfect length. So
yeah, but
Outer
Worlds 2, it looks the same but on a bigger scale. Like the faith is behind the IP now, so let's run with it and let's make it into a proper franchise. Aye.
Listen, I hope it works out, Obsidian, and we'll go over them in a bit. This seems to be like a banner year for them. So if they can at least, because I know Avowed kind of came out and it was again 7s and 8s, I think it was getting, but it looks really good. I tried to play the game series that's in the Pillars of Eternity, and I couldn't do it. It wasn't for me.
It's slow going.
Yeah. So I was hesitant to go and play Avowed, but I think if I'm going to do it, I'll just jump in now and just be like, right, 2 foot this, let's just get into it. So we'll skip them. But yeah, they've got that. Also Outer Worlds 2, and we just found out as well, which we will get to, that Grounded 2 is coming out in July. So that's, again, 3 games in a year for a developer's crazy.
Microsoft must have some faith in them.
Aye, no, that's it. And I mean, Obsidian are, like I mentioned, the South Park games, they are the creators of the Stick of Truth. I don't know if they've done the Fractured But Whole, but they definitely, it felt very Obsidian-y if it wasn't them. That then led us into Resonance, A Plague Legacy, which, when we were discussing this, I was adamant this is not a Plague Tale spin-off, but it was, because I've not played them, but I didn't realise there was magic in them. So when the looks like tendrils or rope or glowing rope, I was like, that can be a Plague Tale, and then you were like, no, this was leaked earlier.
Yeah, I saw the kind of splash screen kind of leaked earlier. I can't remember where exactly, but it's just frustrating that they managed to keep it a secret up until the day of the event. But no, I know that's a very popular series. Once again, I've not played much of it, but I know people that will go and do like a yearly replay of the original game. I
had meant to play the original, and when we discussed that again earlier, I'll try not to make reference to that too much, but yeah, no, I wanted to play the second, but I hadn't played the original, and I know it's very story driven, so I felt it was one I will hold off, and if you could maybe get the game a little bit cheaper, it'd be the way forward with it. So I've definitely tried that, but it looks gorgeous, and it's Asobo who do the Microsoft Flight Sim games, I believe. So, like they're making 10 out of 10s all the time.
Have we missed a game already on this list, by the way?
No, because it went for Resonance and then it goes to High on Life 2.
Right, okay. I think everything I'm looking at says it's the other way about, but But it's your podcast, we'll do it the way you want to.
Oh, right, okay. No, okay, that's fine. Well, I was going to go to that. So, we'll go back then. I've already messed my list up, and we're just starting. So, High on Life 2 comes out. Rick and Morty adjacent, I suppose, would be the correct term to use after the kind of controversy of the creator. Is it Justin Roiland, who was kicked off of everything that Squanch Games and the show do? So it'll be sound-alikes. Not for us, I don't think. I think it's safe to say.
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, I still believe that Roland is departed from Adult Swim and Squanch Games and has no involvement in the sequel whatsoever.
It might mean that it could be funny, so who knows? No, that's terrible. That's terrible. Just as I say, going back to the last three games we mentioned there, Resonance, High on Life 2, and Outer Worlds, they are all coming to Game Pass when they come out, which is huge. High on Life 2 comes out this winter, which is like, we're in June already. I can't believe that we're here. So yeah, that'll be here sooner than later. And Resonance is 2026, which is again like, it's not that far away. Like, it's going to be like, pumpkin spice season soon. So that's we're getting there. After that, we were quite shocked. At first, we thought it was going to be a controller that was announced, but no,
as an Xbox showcase, to be fair.
Yeah, no, I was like, they're going to do a new Elite controller, but no, it's Xbox Ally X. And you said, I said ROG, and then you never corrected me. You told me what it stood for. Is it Republic of Gaming?
Republic of Gamers.
Or Republic of Gamers. So
big
yeah,
kind of PC brand.
Is that similar to like Scruff, that kind of stuff?
No. So it's that is a tech company. So they do
PCs. So it's more like Alien then. If you were getting like Alienware, that kind of,
yeah.
Is it that level?
Well, Alien, I think, has been bought over by Dell quite a few years ago. Sorry, that's splitting semantics. But no, it's much like your Corsair and your kind of PC parts and PC specialist, all those kind of things. It's high-end PCs and high-end PC development. But ROG started making like adjacent Steam Decks and things a few years ago, like gaming tablet PCs, and Xbox seem to have partnered with them to take if they're already making Steam Decks and things, then why not, and they're not properly contracted to Steam, why not get them? Because if the first two things I think of is a Steam Deck and a ROG Ally, and I know people who have bought ROG Allies, so this is just an Ally that's been reskinned for Game Pass, or for Xbox, sorry. Yeah,
it's got dedicated Xbox buttons on it. It's probably going to, I imagine we'll rejig the interface to make it more pleasing to use with a controller rather than a mouse and keyboard.
Yeah. Do you know what? I would like to see one. I would like to get my hands on one, because it seems like a very so different from your PlayStation Portal, which I think is just a streaming device. You can only stream your content. I don't know if it is still only on your home network.
Yeah, I think one of the fellas I work with, Andrew, big shout out if you're listening, Andrew. He was telling us about it. He really wants to get one because, like if the TV's getting used downstairs, he can use it out with that. But he was apprehensive because it doesn't have that kind of can do things natively. So I know that there was an update recently that added features. I'll be honest, I don't know the ins and outs of it, and when it comes to PCs, I am absolutely lost with that. So I look at how big the memory is, and I'm like, oh, that's pretty good.
I'm not going to lie.
It's a terabyte.
See, when I first got a loan of this PS5 off my friend, it was set up in the living room, but my wife wanted to play the Xbox, I wanted to play PlayStation, so I let her play the Xbox on the television. I get my tablet, I use the Xbox remote, the PlayStation remote play. I stream the PlayStation to the tablet, and I just Bluetooth the PS5 controller to the tablet. You don't need the PlayStation Portal. You can just do it with an existing tablet.
I do remember doing the Xbox equivalent to that with, I think it was like Arkham, Arkham Knight, and it was on my phone, and I'd done it for maybe like half an hour because I was like, this is kind of cool. And then a bit of lag, latency kind of came in, and obviously you need to be able to push the counter button at the right time, and it just kind of threw us off. So I was like, aye, I'm just going to hold off with that now. So listen, it'll be, if it works, it's cool. It's probably not something that I'll personally be playing, because I tend not to, when I travel, I don't really want to kind of do gaming and stuff, and I really enjoy the cinematic experience, so I don't really want it on a small screen. But if the Switch has been ultra popular, Switch 2 seems to be getting a divisive kind of reception at the moment, but I think Nintendo are doing everything they can to not make it consumer friendly. So
I think I don't know if we touched on it, but there is going to be 2 versions of the ROG Ally for the Xbox. There's the standard and there's the X. The X is your bigger battery, bigger hard drive. It will have a terabyte instead of a 512 gig. If you would really want to get down into the nitty gritty details, you'll find it online if you want.
Somebody that is right into that, we'll leave that for Digital Foundry or somebody that's going to break down that to the nth degree. But listen, there is people that want that, and I think you can actually use one as a dot or a port. You can stream it to your TV, or can plug it in, and it runs to your TV. Listen, very cool. It's again not for me. I imagine it's going to be quite expensive as well. You're probably looking, I think minimum £700. I would imagine. Well, I'd be surprised if it was less.
Let me just pull up, see how much like a standard ROG Ally is just now.
Also, a ROG Ally is actually already a thing. This is just an Xbox Ally. It's just very branding.
And the Xbox, it's designed for Xbox.
Right. Okay.
But let's see. Very web UK catalogue website, you can get a ROG Ally handheld gaming for $449. So, but that's discounted from $600. It seems to be on average you're looking about $600 or $700. So yeah, you're right.
Okay, so that is, and would you consider that as like a premium brand then if you were buying one of them?
But as I say, it's one of the first 2. There's Steam Deck and then ROG Ally, so that seems to be the 2 big names.
And just to not get in the weeds, is Steam something that you can use with your Ally, not the Xbox one? Is that on an Ally?
I think you get the Steam Deck app. I've not got one, but I do know people that do play Steam games on their ROG Ally.
Right, okay, so potentially what Xbox could do to grandfather in being able to play PlayStation games on Xbox is have Steam accessible on it.
Well, if it's Windows hardware that's running it by Windows 11, have a Windows App Store, you'll probably be able to get your PlayStation Remote Play app, and you can just treat it like a PlayStation Portal as well, or maybe you've got to kind of backdoor your way into it somehow.
Well, there you go.
Jailbreak,
so,
that's what I was looking for.
A jailbreak. Well, one of the things that came out of that as well is the Shovel Knight Silk Song was shown on the Xbox ROG Ally, and they were saying it's going to be out day and date. So
Hollow Knight.
What did I say? Silk Song?
Shovel Knight.
Hollow Knight. Listen, it's very similar. So Hollow Knight Silk Song, is that right?
Yeah, I think that.
Hollow Knight Silk Song is it's going to be out day and date with that, so I imagine it's definitely going to be this year. That seems to have been a long gestating game. It seems is it how long's that been? Like 5-6 years at least.
Yeah, like that. I can't even remember when they first announced Silk Song, but I know people gave up that it was ever actually going to be coming out. But yeah, I think it'll be a big. If Silk Song's going to be on Game Pass, then and people can take this to work and play it on their break and stuff, or play it on their commute, then yeah, it sounds like it's going to be a good idea.
Oh, that's it. So after that was announced, we then went on to what we were adamant was, is this something Witcher related? But Bandai Namco came out with Blood of the Dawnwalker, and that's coming out in 2026. What was your thoughts with that?
I like the look of this one. As I say, like the soundtrack was very witchery, but it seems to be coming out in a very fleshed out world, and it felt
very lived in. I thought, and that's a good thing. I mean that in a good way.
And I can't remember the last time I played like a really, really good kind of vampire game.
Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver.
Well, yeah, I did get that this year. That was a good remaster. But no, so I was going to say something to sink my teeth into, but I didn't mean it that way. No, I'm definitely going to want to sit down and play that one, and that one was Xbox Play Anywhere, so there's not a mention of that on Game Pass yet.
Yeah. No, these things can change. You know what it's like. Something will just appear on Game Pass, or something will happen later on the line. There's a deal agreed, but like we said, everything is going to be Xbox everywhere, so you can play it on all your different devices. After that, we then went to Super Meat Boy 3D. That's coming in early 2026. You and I, we've played the original game, which is by this time probably 16 years old. You're looking about 2009, 2010 time.
Let me look it up. I know there was a documentary about the creation.
It feels like it's one of those games that, similar to Cuphead, I'm surprised Netflix hasn't taken it and turned it into like a really adult animated show. Like, it feels like that's what it should be, just because it's got that kind of charming art style with the ultra violence.
20th of October 2010. So
there you go. So
nearly 15 years old.
That's crazy. I mean, that's terrifying just because it doesn't feel that old. So that's crazy. But the game itself, again, not one that I'd jump out for, but if it goes to Game Pass, it is going to Game Pass, it's one that I might pick up and potentially fall in love with. It looks very much like your Super Mario 3D World.
Yes,
I think that's what it's called. Yeah, it's kind of like that. It's like 2.5D. Everything's 3D, but the camera seems fixed, and it looks quite interesting. I'll give them that.
Just taking the kind of Super Meat Boy, what it was, that ultra violent jumping through bandsaw blades and stuff, and just modernising it. Yeah,
no, that's it. And listen, I think people that have a nostalgia for that, I mean, I imagine if I was like, you know, like we said 15, so if you were 9 or 10 during that time, you're 24, 25 now, you're going to be like, oh, I'm going to go back and play that. The nostalgia will be there for it. You're almost a generation removed from that, which is disgusting when you say it like that, but it is a fact. So yeah, no, listen, I think that will be a hit, I imagine, in early 2026. What you doing in January or February? You know, those are kind of the pits when it comes to gaming. You're kind of hung over for the feast that has been, you know, the last quarter of the year. So aye.
So after Super Meat Boy, it went to Ninja Gaiden.
Yeah, Ninja Gaiden 4. So that was one of the ones that the shadow dropped basically the entire series onto Game Pass. They've different it's 1, 2, and 3, but they're like Ninja Gaiden Black and then Ninja Gaiden Black 2 and stuff. So
that was just after the last developer direct, I believe.
It was, yeah. So we like character action games, but we've never played them. You'd been an afters by the sounds of it, and somebody was sitting playing it. That's your kind of take on it. But listen, it looks really cool. I'll give them that. It looks really cool.
So Ninja Gaiden 4 will be October 21st, 2025. Once again, Xbox Play Anywhere, and it will be Xbox Game Pass.
There you go. Is that Koei Tecmo that makes that? So there is a long standing relationship for that.
Team Ninja, Platinum Games are involved as well.
It just seemed to be all the kind of the cool, you know, like cool gameplay kind of teams that were there, like Team Ninja, Platinum. You're like, you know, why don't we just throw in, you know, like id Software or something, you know, like Dane Doom, just chuck them in there. They were all very cool.
So as we say, it's coming out on Xbox now. Xbox PC, it's getting branded as Xbox Cloud, Steam, and PS5 as well.
There you go. That's it. So what was it before? Was it Xbox PC? What was before that?
I think it was just
PC.
Possibly
PC Game Pass, I think, that kind of stuff. But then after that, I kept saying it, like, I think a few times. I was like, oh, this is going to be Indiana Jones or something, and eventually it came. So Indiana Jones is getting its first expansion in September the 4th, 2025. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, Order of the Giants.
If you wanted more Troy Baker in your games.
listen, it looks cool. You and I have both not played much of the first game. It's one that just there was that much going on, and I'm not the biggest Indiana Jones fan. It's just it was never something I grew up with. I like the movies, but I'm not like kicking down the door to get to it. But I know it was very well received, and it's probably one that when I get a break, maybe like a long weekend, I'll download it. I do know, because I was a bit surprised that I remember in the trailer you seen Tony Todd, who passed away sadly recently, the Candyman. He plays a really tall fella, and it turned out somebody'd mentioned it to me. Oh no, there's giants in it, so I'm assuming this will tie into that. Whether or not it takes place after the main story's finished, or if it's like a kind of side story, a side area that you go to throughout the game. So it looks very cool and looks very, very pretty.
It's one of these games like an Indiana Jones adventure. It could be a fully separate adventure. Like maybe when you hit the start screen, it will go, do you want to play the Great Circle or do you want to play the Order of Giants?
Yeah, it could be. I mean, they might integrate it into the game. I'm not sure how they're going to do it. Maybe like because you can go back to the areas and revisit them. So we'll see how that goes. But I imagine if the quality's, machine games don't kind of really scrimp in quality, they're going to be it's going to be really good. So yeah, no, it's one that just it adds to the package. There'll be a Game of the Year edition eventually, that, with everything on it. So
Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, that was better received than I ever thought it was going to be.
I think it was because they held it off so long. You never really saw gameplay or anything. It was all, and I remember there was like maybe like a 5-minute 5-minute cutscene shown, and you were like, where's the game?
And then you realise that is the game.
Yeah, it's just that pretty. So yeah, no, that's coming. I imagine, obviously, like I don't imagine it's standalone, so you will probably have to buy that as an add-on, even if you have the base game on Game Pass. It will probably be an add-on that you'll have to pick up yourself.
Yeah, they've got to make money at the Game Pass games.
Oh, of course. It happened with me with Forza. Like I'll pick up Forza Horizon, which is just like one that I love. And before the game, comes out, you can pay like the upgrade charge to the like Ultimate Edition, and for that you get it tells you, or you'll get all the DLCs, and you usually get like a map that shows you where all the collectibles are, which shouldn't be behind a paywall. That should just be there to give you, because I hate looking for collectibles if they're hidden in strange places, and Forza tends to do that. So yeah, it'll be just like you're saying, need to make your extra money somewhere. So
what was next after that?
That was, so you and I both kind of were like, what is this? So the next trailer comes on, and the first thing that pops up, Game Freak. So Game Freak, for anybody that doesn't know, are the developers of the largest entertainment property in the world, which is Pokemon.
Been making Pokemon games since the originals.
Aye. So you can see them a while. I think they do. Is it the? Did they do the Shantae games? Is that them? The kind of wee like chibi genie, or is it there's a drill game that used to be on the I was going to say N64, it wasn't. It was the Game Boy Advance. It was like the only other Game Freak that I saw. So when this pops up and you're getting a almost like Souls-like beast reincarnate, it looked pretty wild, to be fair. I again, not for me, because I'm no big on the Souls games, but the art style looked good. It's like set, years and years and years into the future.
But with
could be good. It's out in 2026.
Tsushima aesthetic to the characters.
Yeah, no, it's definitely got that kind of, obviously, I was going to say like Far East, but yeah, Far East inspired art style. I think they're taking for Chinese, Japanese. There's probably other cultures in there that I'm not picking up on, but certainly has all those kind of like signals in there. You're like, oh, this is quite good, and that's going to Game Pass as well. So that's coming 2026. That's huge. Game Freak doing something that isn't Pokemon, and on a big scale like this, it looks crazy. So it just shows that they can do really, really, really pretty games.
Maybe just had a team that managed to get out of the Pokemon development. But once again, that one's going to be coming to Steam and PS5 as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry, I should say that these aren't all exclusives.
Well, we'll talk about Xbox, but other platforms do exist, and you are free to play on those platforms if you choose.
Yeah, this is a free space, a safe space. Nobody will judge you for that,
unless you hate the Batman.
Unless you hate the Batman, and in that case, you're dead to me. After that, at first, so it popped up, and you and I were like, "Oh, it's Fable," and then I think we went through like 4 or 5 different kind of stages of whiplash here, because it was Clockwork Revolution in Exiles. I was going to say new game, but in Exile are known for, like, it is their new game, but they're known for being like RPGs, and then this comes out and it's almost like they've taken Fable, they've taken a bit of Bioshock Infinite, and then they've just like mixed in Fable. It's almost like Reaver 1 and Fable 3. This is what the world would be like. Mash them all together, and you've got a wee bit of time travelling in there, so that time shift game, I feel like back in the late 2000s, and we've got Clockwork Revolution, and that's not me being disparaging. I love all those things, so this looks right up our alley.
The only thing I was disappointed with this is you got such a long trailer. Like it must have been like 6 or 7 minutes, and yet we were like, oh, it must be coming out soon. Like if they're putting this much focus on it, but it was in due time. So they've got this game. They've got this game that seems to be running quite a lot in engine in the trailer. I can't remember if it said that on the trailer or not, but
I think it did, and then they definitely shown gameplay at the end with the likes of the time traveling features. That was definitely shown.
Even the character creation was kind of shown off in the trailer when the guy was trying to describe his assailant, and it was, you got to pick your kind of appearance.
So you were picking as if you were picking them up for, or I was going to say picking it for a lineup, but it wasn't. It was almost like you were telling somebody what it looked like so they could draw them, and he was like, no, he looked totally different for that. So,
but no, I was very much impressed with that one.
Yeah, no, that kind of, I remember that being announced. I think it was either at the kind of late on last year or this time last year, and that I don't want to say blew me away, because I'm trying to remain kind of quite calm about it, but it definitely looked. But it was one of the more exciting things kind of coming out of this for me. That's the one that kind of stuck with me the most, I would say.
Okay. I just half expect you to say blow me away, and then you just launch into Breaking Benjamin.
I could do a wee Halo 2 run through, which would be very cool. After that, we got a few. We had Sarah Bond right at the beginning. She introduced the show, and then we jumped to Matt Booty after Clockwork Revolution. Just basically went over what the new Xbox gameplay or Game Anywhere is going to be, and that led into where he was talking about Obsidian and how they're having a banner year and it's going to be 3 games, and Grounded 2 popped up, so that's going into a game preview. That's basically Xbox's version of early access. I'm right in saying that.
Yeah.
Did the original game ever go like to?
Yeah, I remember it got. I remember it got its full 1.0 release.
1.0. There we go. Aye. Let's again, not one for me to play, but it looks like the kind of game that, in a world, the when you set up your game world, that I don't know, you maybe share experience and some lunatic might come in and use it all. It just seems to me that kind of game where that would happen. Would you agree, Calum?
Thank you very much for bringing back that trauma. Once again, I'm very sorry.
I was like, he's sitting there, he's seething. I'm glad there's no camera here. But yeah, no, listen, it looks good, and it was one of those games that we talk about Sea of Thieves in a little bit. Those are games that came out, and I think people they weren't underwhelmed, but they were just whelmed. And by the time it had ran its course, it's obviously Sea of Thieves is still going strong. We're getting Grounded 2. They're held in rather high regard, I think, by a lot of people.
Yeah, like when it came to Fable being released, I kind of wanted Rare to be behind it, and if I didn't get Rare, then what, Obsidian would probably make a good effort at it. But no, Obsidian just seemed to be like, it's not even just throwing anything at the wall and see what sticks, but it seems to be they're making really solid games like they always do. They've got a rich kind of back catalogue, and anybody usually thinks Fallout New Vegas when you say Obsidian, but then Pillars of Eternity, which they turned into Avowed as well. They're just firing all cylinders at the moment, and if they're firing all cylinders and putting out a consistent 7 out of 10, as you like to put it, 7 out of 10 is not bad.
No, absolutely sorry, I'm just dying here. Yeah, no, listen, it isn't, and that, I think the thing to say about Obsidian is they're consistent. Just they haven't made a bad game in I don't know how long. And I'm going to say it probably released something before, and it was been bad, but certainly like Grounded, there was a lot of tender love and care went into that to bring it up to the standard that was expected, but I know that wasn't the main team. So again, you need to kind of temper your expectations when you look into the background of it. You see Obsidian, you think it's everybody working on it, when that isn't the case at all. It's a lot of the time it's, but the A team, the B team, and maybe even the C team are working on them, and that's no disrespect. It's just how big some of these studios are.
I don't know, when I first saw the trailer for Grounded 2, I was half expecting it to go the opposite way and like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids to Honey, I Blew Up the Kids, but no, it's just moved it from back garden to public park.
Aye, it looks good. Probably, I believe it has like arachnophobia modes and that, so I'm sure they'll try and freak everybody else out with these cutesy like spiders running at you, but it's still unsettling. So once that was done, we then moved on to Bloober Team, who they done the Silent Hill 2 remake, I believe. Is that right?
Last thing I remember them doing was The Medium, but let me...
Oh, was it The Medium? Oh, that was the one where it like ran, it was like two worlds together, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was the girl with the white hair. Yeah. So Bloober Team are, known for doing very good survival horror, and this is like Dead Space, and that just tickles a part of me. Like, I love the Dead Space games. The remake was incredible, and the fact we're not getting more of that makes me very sad. But we've also got this here, which is very exciting. You've got Chronos, the New Dawn, that's coming out in... Is it? I've wrote it down here, but I can't actually see. My handwriting was that bad because I was using a broken pen. It's coming out autumn this year, autumn 2025. So when that comes out, it's probably going to be around the October time, because they try and it's all about that synergy. So you've got that Halloween synergy, nice and spooky. Looks really good. The graphics are incredible. Looks very much like over the shoulder Dead Spacey, Fallout. I was going to say Fallout, Resident Evil 4, 5, and it just looks pretty exciting. Was that one that is on your radar now?
Possibly. Like I'm not massive. I just looked up. Yes, they did do the Silent Hill 2.
Did they? Right,
that released last year. Do you know what? It looked kind of different enough that if I'm in the mood to kind of mix up from my standard games, then I will more than likely. It's going to be. Oh, in fact, no, it's Xbox Play Anywhere. See, it's not Game Pass.
Yeah, see, that's it.
Which, like, as you get older, like, money gets a bit tight, so I think that's why just Game Pass seems to be such an appealing thing, because you get to try so much.
No, absolutely. But it looks good. There wasn't really much shown outside of kind of what the story's about or anything, but it just looks good, looks scary. I'm sure it will be. Bloober are getting onto a bit of a roll, because the Medium was quite, tempered reception. I think people liked it, but they didn't love it. And then the remake of Silent Hill 2, which is probably the most popular, that and 3 are the most popular in that game series, and they knocked it out of the park with that. So I think they've got a lot of goodwill in the bank, so hopefully they can continue on with that and do great with this as well. That then led us into the Elder Scrolls Online. Not something that we really play, but for the 26 million people apparently that play it, you've got what is it, seasons of the Worm Cult, which how exciting does that sound? I don't know. Is that cool? Do I want a Worm Cult? I don't know.
It's Elder Scrolls Online. It's its own entity. It will keep going. People that love to kind of feel like they're getting more involved in that world, it's probably a perfect place to jump into them while we are waiting for Elder Scrolls 6. And if you've already 100%ed Oblivion Remaster, then return to it, because it's live service. They're still keeping it going, and if you like it, you like it. Don't tell anybody it's crap.
No, I don't. Was it yuck my yum, as folk seem to say? That's a kind of niche saying. So, it didn't move the needle for us, but there is 26 million people playing it apparently, so that's huge. That right? I was struggling to pronounce this. Apphelion, is that right? Is that how we're saying it?
I thought it was Aphelion, like the PH as the sound.
Aphelion from Dotnod. you had to don't nod. Sorry, you had to explain who they were. I didn't realise that they'd done Life is Strange.
Life is Strange, and sorry, I really should have had this ready before. I'm pretty
That's okay.
sure.
No, wait. So we had Life is Strange. The thing that caught me, and I think I mentioned that straight away, was like, oh, M83. So M83 was the music that was playing during the trailer. So straight away I was like, oh, here we go. This is very exciting, because they just make the best music. I think they actually done the soundtrack for the Tom Cruise underrated movie Oblivion that came out back in, I think, like 2013. I think maybe. So very good. But yeah, no, looks interesting. It looks. It's like it looks like an adventure game. There was no combat shown, which isn't. It's not a bad thing. The exploration looks really good, and the end teaser shows the character this person's looking for, who is actually called Thomas, and he looked in a pretty dangerous predicament, and you heard some evil predator sounding kind of monster in the background. So I'm sure there is some sort of maybe hiding from it and distracting it, but I don't know if you'll be fighting in it. What was your thoughts on it? Did you like it?
To be honest, I quite like the style of game it was showing. That kind of exploration, a glorified walking simulator probably. It tells a story, but without the need to add combat in. Like it's walking you.
You trust the environment and story. You don't need to know that action pads anything out, but some games don't require it. Like there to be a lot of fighting in it. And I found the sort of the game, which escapes me. It was the Creole kind of Southern American
South of Midnight.
Mystic. South of Midnight. I felt that some of the combat in that I was like, I could do without this, to be honest. Like it just kind of got drawn out, and they didn't have to have combat, at every arena. It could have just been like, here's a bit more story rather than having a fight.
No, I get that. Sometimes they feel like to justify it being a game, you need to have it being as interactive as possible, and it's. I don't necessarily think you have to have combat in a game for it to be a game. But no, the visuals looked good. What was it at the end? It was developed, so
it was developed in collaboration with the European Space Agency. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Is that one of your favourite space agencies?
Yeah, it's definitely up there. Obviously NASA being number one, European Space Agency, and I need to watch what I'm saying. But my comrades in China with the Chinese Space Agency is pretty good, and those hipsters at SpaceX can go and do one. So that's 2026. I don't remember. I couldn't find any kind of confirmation what that's coming to, whether or not it's going to Game Pass, but no doubt will be going to like PlayStation, PC, all that kind of stuff as well. So yeah. We then moved on to. Sorry, what was that?
I was going to say after that, was it Ghosts at the Grand?
Yeah, Ghosts at the Grand. But then the actual splash screen for it says there are no ghosts at the Grand. So is that the tagline? Is there are no ghosts at the Grand, but the games are just called Ghosts at the Grand?
Oh, who knows?
I know that is coming to Game Pass, which is pretty cool.
The game is so
the first
bizarre.
thing we noticed straight away was the Scottish gun that's in
that one's going to be Xbox and Steam. No mention of PlayStation on that one.
Right, okay. So, yeah, no, it looks very bizarre. Looks like a lot of different games kind of smashed together. It's Cthulhu kind of stuff going on there. Scottish Guns, there are no Ghosts at the Grand. That's coming 2026.
I think the game started off with the premise is, you've been left this hotel by an like the Stardew Valley kind of format. You've been left something that's no longer it is.
It was almost like that Blueprints one that you were playing.
Yeah, and then it moves on to, you're doing up the town to make the town more profitable, but then there's some witchcraft. Actually, you're here to con everybody, and it was a roller coaster.
It really went through all your emotions. What's going on here? So, it looks very good. Looks like there's a lot going on. There's going to be a lot of kind of things for that game to juggle. So we'll see how it kind of lands. Hope it does well. As I say, Scottish Gun, you need to support it. So there you go. Age of Mythologies after that is getting an expansion, the Heavenly Spear, that's coming fall, or as we call it, autumn 2025. Again, it'll be similar to the Indiana Jones. You'll have to buy that add-on for Age of Mythologies, but looks pretty interesting, like kind of Far East myths. I don't know if it's anything to do with Heavenly Sword, if it's a crossover with PlayStation that we don't know about, but yeah, looks pretty cool. If you like RTS games, which I do, that looks pretty fun.
I'm not the biggest RTS person myself, but no, the Age of Mythology there was a cry out for it, and I think it seems to be delivering to the fans, the people that definitely enjoyed that. But it's nice to see that. I think they did kind of almost lock a lot of the kind of other armies behind a paywall, but I don't know if this is new armies that were never in the original and they're just further developing a game that was released. Christ, I remember seeing Age of Mythology when I was like in my early teens. So
yeah, I mean, I think this is a remake that came out because I have it downloaded, just never played it. I find there's some games that don't take advantage of the game, the kind of game controller. They still expect you to use mouse and keyboard, and I just don't have access to that. Whereas the likes of Halo Wars was really good at, and Halo Wars 2 were really good at adapting to using a gamepad, which was brilliant, and I think that's why I love them so much.
I still need to play Halo Wars 2.
Oh, it's really good. The music's superb. Very, very, very good. After that, you and I were kind of confused as to what this was. It looked like Japanese Splinter Cell, but Mudang 2 Hearts 2026.
Oh, the Metal Gear Splinter Cell.
Aye. Looks a bit strange, let's be honest. But again, probably not something that I would go out to play, but it looks pretty cool.
Well, sorry if you could hear my chair there. Well, as I was saying, that there is definitely a variety of games being shown off, but when I was thinking back to Summer Game Fest, everything just seemed to be Souls-like or anime, and when I think back to this one, there wasn't really anything else shown off like this during the showcase, so there was definitely trying to cater to a wider audience rather than a kind of hyper-focused audience.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they are a Japanese company or not, but I find similar to yourself that whatever, like there's so much either anime adaptations or they're just Souls-like games. It's quite tiring, The Monster Hunter is very much Souls-like before Souls-like was popular. It's those kind of heavy movements and reliance and dodges. It's very animation-y. Like you swing your sword and it takes like 5 seconds and you can't cancel out an animation.
Yeah, like you've got to be sensible about what you're doing. You can't just like button bash. I understand that that's what you mean by the kind of Souls-like, that there's you've got to pick your moments.
Listen, this looks quite good. I don't know if it's horror-y, has kind of thrillery kind of vibes to it, but whether or not it'll go into kind of survival horror, we'll see. It looks like there's a point where you play as a girl and you're maybe hiding, so it's almost got clock tower kind of things going on there. So yeah, no, we'll see what happens. But yeah, looks pretty cool. Coming 2026, we'll see how it is. That said, just going to game Xbox Anywhere, no Game Pass as of yet, and it is going to PlayStation as well.
So next was Planet of Lana 2, Children of the Leaf.
Looks good. Going to Game Pass, so I think I will have to go back and play the original, which I believe is still on there, because I have seen it many a time. I never knew what it was. I never watched the trailer. So yeah, looks very cool. Coming to every console and going to Game Pass. So listen, everybody's a winner at that point.
The trailer did say Nintendo Switch, but I imagine it will be Nintendo Switch 2 as well. PS4, PS5, yeah.
Aye, so it's got it. When I saw it originally, and I think I'd said to yourself, it looks very much like Ori in the kind of blind forest. And then when I seen the actual game, I was like, oh, it's more like the kind of platform physics based games like Limbo and Inside, which I love them. I've definitely 1000 G'd, or platinumed, but we're not talking like that here. I've definitely platinumed Inside. I can't remember if I've done Limbo, but Limbo is a great game. Disturbing, but very good.
I only completed it for the first time last year, I think. I had never actually completed Limbo, and really enjoyed it.
Well, I don't know what it is. It's just the the ultra violence that happens in that game to small children, that, you know, when you're playing it, you don't really think about it when you've got like the kind of spindly spider's legs. It's almost like that scene from Kong Skull Island with the spider trees, where the guy looks up and he just gets absolutely torpedoed by one. I mean, how many times has that happened to the children in that game? It's freaky, and the ending kind of stuck with me, but it's disturbing, and it kind of makes you think a little bit. So that's all you can ask for.
If you've never played it, the game looks and kind of plays through like some kind of kid's nightmare. Yeah. Without being like ultra graphic. It's all black and white silhouettes and things.
Yeah, but you do, there's like a kind of spider monster that follows you, and when it gets to you, it just impales you, and your small child is just hanging there, and it's a very disturbing and surreal image that you see. So yeah, not one for the faint of heart, but it is very, very good and very tense at some points. Then I think the next two games, this is the most underwhelming bit for us when we were going through it. Fallout 76 has got a fishing expansion, spelt Gone Fission, so you know, a nuclear pun. Fine, who's playing Fallout 76? I'm sure 26 million people aren't, but there'll be a lot.
Maybe 26.
Listen, it's not for me, and I'm not trying to yuck MD's yum, that kind of stuff, but it's disappointing. There should be a new Fallout game that isn't a massive multiplayer online. It should just be a really good Fallout game. This does not move the needle for me in the slightest, although we did discuss the best or you don't like fishing minigames. I happen to like Red Dead 2's fishing game. I found it very relaxing and serene, but you do not like fishing games in other games.
No, like I remember, I think I played the one in Ocarina of Time, which, why Ocarina of Time had a fishing minigame, I don't know. But when it came to games like Final Fantasy 15, your 4 different characters had skills that leveled up. So one of the guys carried like a camera about, and you could get his photography skill up by taking random pictures of like cool things. Other guy was the kind of chef, so at the end of the night, when you increased his chef ability, then you could get like extra bonuses from eating at the campfire every night. I'm pretty sure one guy just leveled up from walking. I want that ability. And then your actual main character, his was fishing. Everybody else.
I was just when you were talking about that, I was casting my mind back, and remember Jack and Daxter?
Yes.
So there was a small fishing game in that where you had to like catch so many fish for the fisherman who eventually comes back and takes you to Lurker Island. It's right near the beginning. That's a ridiculously satisfying fishing game, and I used to hate that once you'd done it you could never do it again. So I haven't thought about it in years, but I really enjoyed just it must have been the feedback when you're catching the fish. It's very fluid, and it's good, man. It's good times. But yeah, fishing games are usually hit and miss, or fishing mini games. Sorry, are hit and miss. I've not played the one for the GameCube. Was it Pro Bass Fishing or something like that?
Oh Christ knows.
Billy Bigmouth Bass Fishing.
How would you feel that Jack and Daxter mini game would work nowadays with the kind of haptic feedback of the controllers?
I think you would just do, you know, like you said there, you know, your what was it, the 6-axis. Just lean left or right. I'll be honest, it doesn't really add anything for me, but you could probably do something with the likes of, because that is one thing the PlayStation controller is brilliant with, the likes of if the feedback on the triggers. You could do something with that, I'm sure, you know, and it would just feel really good, I would imagine. Yeah, no, it'd be very cool.
I believe the next game, when it first showed, did you not go, crap?
What is this? In fact, my notes here are solo leveling, Arise Overdrive - meh.
I believe
that was all I wrote.
It's a tie-in game for a popular anime. I believe I've actually just had to look up. I'm sure it was an anime. I've googled it as an anime. So apologies.
That's coming 2026.
Apologies to all Whisky Sour Hour anime fans. I'm sure Thomas will do an anime episode one day.
Listen, I would happily talk about. I don't know if it's classed as anime, but I would happily talk about the first, 2 seasons of Digimon and maybe the first 2 seasons of Pokemon. But that is it.
And
I did not watch Dragon Ball. But yeah, no, listen, it looks cool. It's just no for me. And it's 4-player co-op, which I'm always a big proponent of. There should be more games that are like co-op, because it's something that I feel like you're missing later on when we talk about Gears of War, when it comes up in, you know, bold writing, you know, couch co-op or, you know, split screen co-op. You're like, good, because it's something that's missing these days. But everybody's trying to be so far away from one another. Sometimes it's nice to just sit on a couch, play a game in the same room as somebody.
No, definitely.
That then led us into what you and I were kind of debating back and forth what this is. Is it Pal World or is it something? Animo coming in 2026. And funnily enough, going back to the notes here, my notes are, looks like a better Pokemon game than Nintendo and Game Freak could make. Animo coming in 2026, and I think that kind of sums up pretty much exactly what it is.
Yeah, it looks more like Pal World than Pokemon, but with no guns. I'm pretty sure somebody pulls out and hits like an Animo with a sledgehammer at one point, but you know, in that cutesy anime graphics sort of way.
It's almost like your Harley Quinn oversized fairground hammer.
Yeah.
It's very pretty, but it looks like you can morph into the creatures in the game, which is somebody who, as I mentioned Pokemon earlier, like, there'd be nothing cooler than like you have your character, and you know you and they kind of do it to an extent with the games, but it's like very slow and cumbersome. Like if you get to the side of a cliff, you should just be able to like run, and say you've got like a flying Pokemon, so you always have to have like a flying, or you know, like a fire type or something that can fly anyway. So you've got that, and your Charizard comes out and grabs you, like, and it's just a fluid animation. That'd be so cool. And again, somebody's going to be like, actually, you can do that in Pokemon Scarlet with your Miraidon or whatever it's called. Get out of here with that. That is nonsense. That is a Digimon. That Pokemon. Get out of here.
I'm just waiting for that run up to a cliff, jumping off. You know, your Pidgey ends up becoming like a glider. All of a sudden, you've got to get into the circle. Oh no, you're in a Pokemon battle royale.
No, that's it. Listen, that'd be quite cool. This is just a wee sidebar if you were to do that. So you start off obviously Pidgeotto, and it's like Pidgey is too small to actually carry, so it's like gliding, and then eventually, when you get to your Pidgeotto, you can actually fly. That'd be pretty cool. That's like an advancement of Pokemon. I like that.
So as the rings come, you've got to get your Pokemon leveled up by beating other trainers.
See?
And give them away
Game
ideas
Freak, send
here.
me our money right now.
You know, that previous Game Freak game, just chuck a couple of Pokeballs in it, and there you go. Yeah,
exactly. There you go. That's how they do everything. They're like that. Chuck Pokeballs on it. My work here is done.
Okay.
After that, our good friend Tony Hawk, our childhood friend Tony Hawk, popped up on the screen, and just basically went over being happy with where we are right now, and thanking everybody for the support. Because that's, I mean, what are we, 26 years now at Tony Hawk's, which is disgusting, and you know, how why is it so long ago? I can't believe that. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4, I think it looks incredible. I cannot wait to play it. July 11th, that's a pretty big day, mate. Superman comes out that day. I am going to be out my face on just good times.
I will say one thing about that Tony Hawk video is the small kind of interview thing, or him speaking to the camera at the beginning. 26 years of Tony Hawk royalties have not changed that man. He still seems as humble as ever.
He's just. I think he's one of those guys who they say don't meet your heroes. If you were to meet him, you'd be like, I'm glad I met Tony Hawk.
He just seems like a nice guy.
Yeah, and one of the things it did show, which I thought was really cool, obviously, Tony Hawk's is known for its secret characters. I believe Tony Hawk's 3, I never played Tony Hawk's 4 when it came out back originally, but Tony Hawk's 3, it was it Iron Man? I think Wolverine was in it, or Darth Maul, maybe?
I think I knew Wolverine. I know Tony Hawk's 2 was Spider-Man.
Yeah, so Tony Hawk's was, in fact, Iron Man I think was Tony Hawk's Underground, so I'm maybe getting a wee bit ahead of myself there. But they have the Ninja Turtles, well, at least they have Michelangelo, so I imagine the rest will be there, and obviously Doom Guy is there as well, which is, you know, a good bit of synergy of brands there, which is pretty cool.
Don't know if he's just going to be an Xbox exclusive character, or if he's going to be playable for all.
Who's that, Doom Guy?
Because it's...
No, he'll be in them all, I imagine. just because Doom's on everything. It'd be silly and cynical not to do that, or petty.
I think I'm just going back to Soul Calibur 4, when each console had their own unique secret character.
Oh no, you're thinking of 2, so it was like Link and then Heihachi and that. Yeah, that was Soul Calibur 2.
Oh, I thought it was Soul Calibur 4.
No, I think 4 was... I think you were right. I think you're right with what you're saying. I think was 4 not the Star Wars characters? So like one had Darth Vader, one had Yoda, and Starkiller was in both of them. Is that right?
I'm that old, Thomas. I can't remember anymore.
I used to be able to tell you exactly. Like, I could go through every Tekken and tell you what it is. Same with Mortal Kombat, which sidebar, that Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection is going to be amazing. I cannot wait for that. But I could tell you everything about the story and characters and stuff. Now I have no clue, and there's it's a massive gap in my knowledge. But Soul Calibur 2 was the one that had, like, I think, did Xbox not have Spawn? Was that their character?
Yes, they had Spawn. One had Yoda, and the other had... No, it was Link. Sorry, Link. I'm getting mixed up.
Link, and then Heihachi, as I used to call it, because I was a terrible reader back in the day. I used to call him Heihachi. It'd be funny to go back and see like all the terrible takes I've got, like when it comes to like names, because I was never that good at it. But I think it was absolutely fair, because some of the names in are terrible and that. Or not terrible, sorry, they're just quite difficult for an 8-year-old to be reading, like Kunamitsu. Like, I would never have known that's what it is.
Right, let's get back onto the
Back
derailment.
on track, yeah. So the devs of Spiritfarer are coming out with At Fate's End. Sorry. I think we both agreed this is probably the most beautiful game that's in this showcase.
For it being 2D side-scrolling card battling combat mechanics, this looked gorgeous.
It looked amazing. I couldn't remember the game at the time, but thankfully your encyclopedic knowledge of games eventually came up with Child of Light. It looked very much like that. That was a Ubisoft RPG. It was just amazing, and I got the same vibes for that. The card kind of gameplay kind of threw me a little bit. I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that. Back in the day, I got a PSP and I had Metal Gear Acid with it, and my disappointment knew no bounds when I realised it wasn't a Metal Gear game. It was like a Metal Gear card game. So it tempered my expectations a little bit. We'll just have to see how it goes. But have you played any kind of card based action games?
I had listened to a podcast with an author I like, and he was talking about Slay the Spire being a good one. Technically, I've played a game on Epic Store called Gloomhaven, which is a video game adaptation of a board game, which, by the way, the board game cost like £130. So if you can pick it up free on Epic, then do that instead. But
you can't just say that it costs £130 and explain to us what you actually get with that. Like, what is this?
It's a campaign driven, so you're supposed to come back and play multiple sessions. Like, it's a come back every few weeks and play with your pals, like a D&D style thing. But I think you play some kind of mercenary band, and it's all kind of pre-made characters. And I'm on the kind of hunt to try and find somebody that properly knows how to play it, and then I'll teach you how to play it after that. How's that sound?
That sounds alright. I will remortgage a house so to get a game. Or no, that sounds good, man. Sounds good. But yeah, At Fate's End looks pretty good. We shall see how it goes. That led us into something completely different. It was Gears of War, the Reloaded. I recently I would be more excited for this if I hadn't played over the Christmas break. I tend to pick a game to play. This year just happened to be, because there was nothing really catching my eye. I was like, I'm going to download the Gears of War Ultimate Edition, which came back out, I think it must have been like 2015, on the build up to Gears 4 when they were bringing the series back. Basically a remake of the first game with, I want to say, like, was it Unreal 4 engine? So it was like a very pretty game when Unreal 3 was the original. So when I was playing that, I was like, this is amazing, man. I love Gears of War. And this, to be honest, I think this is just a repackagement of that. It's coming to Game Pass, so it's not a massive thing for me. The big thing is it's going to be cross-play, so it is going to PlayStation. That's massive. That's like you said yourself, the multiplayer for that is going to be crazy.
Like, I remember Gears always being one of the games that had like a World Series event where esports was massive for it, and now that you're actually going to have other platforms, and if this is the first one, I'm going to see like Gears 2 Reloaded coming to multi-platform as well, and it's just going to be a lease of life for the franchise, which to be honest is a good thing. But slightly sidetracking, for anybody that didn't know, Thomas does an absolutely fantastic impression of Marcus Phoenix.
I do sound bites. It's not like I can speak like him, but I can certainly do sound bites.
So to get me the character, if I could make you dance like a show pony for a second,
Okay.
you can do. This is Marcus Phoenix in the middle of combat trying to get his teammates' attention.
Right, hold on. Damn!
There you go.
And then I think the other one would have to be in the middle of combat and your gun jams on you when you're reloading. Oh, come on! The memories of that is playing Gears of War 4 and me just shouting that all the time when we're doing horde mode. This is just kind of came to me here because I was looking at my notes and stuff. The things I would really like is, I feel Gears of War it should be held up there with the likes of Halo. It is one of those games that Halo defined what an Xbox was, and I think Gears of War, especially the Gary Jules trailer that everybody knew, you like stopped what you're doing and watched this trailer. I know people that didn't even play games that still remember the Mad World trailer, and I think there should have been a collection of this. I feel like putting this game out here, I get it, PlayStation are going to play it, they're going to pay for it, and PlayStation players are going to pay for it, and it's going to be at the top of the charts because this is huge that it's coming to PlayStation. But I would rather have put it out there as one package. I'm sure they'll make more money selling them individually, obviously, but like a Marcus Phoenix collection, or just a Gears of War Phoenix collection, would have been me probably a bit more interesting than this. But that's by the by.
Sorry, I'm looking this up because I was just of the understanding you've played it recently, and
mm-hmm.
I genuinely thought that the Ultimate Edition that released was the three of them, but it's not.
No, it was just the one. You can play. Obviously, all the games are backwards compatible on Xbox, so you can play the original. But I chose to play the Ultimate Edition, and then you can play 2, 3, Judgment, and then obviously 4 and 5 are on the most recent consoles updated. One of the things I will say, and it's very, very subtle, back when 5 came out, they changed the name just to Gears 5. What the heck was that?
To make it edgy.
But they thankfully went back to Gears of War because nobody called it Gear. Like, you would say Gears, but you were never forced to do that. I hate the fact that they were like, this is Gears. I mean, nobody was getting Gears and God of War confused, so don't panic about
that. But I will agree that it should. It probably was one of the big Xbox like flagship franchises. It's just been that long since we've had like a non-drought of Xbox games. You forget what the good years were like.
Yeah, no, definitely. Because you knew you were getting one a year. So you had Gears of War 2008. Next year after that, you had Halo 2. 2007 being probably one of the greatest years of gaming ever. And then 2008, you had Gears 2. And then there was a 3-year gap. And then you got Gears of War 3. But yeah, no, like just good times to be a gamer.
Where you had Halo for cinematic FPS, redefined what an FPS was. Then I thought Gears, on the other hand, it was the cinematic set pieces, and I think that really launched the cover-based shooter kind of thing.
There was games before it. I think there was one in the PlayStation called Kill Switch, and then talking about James Bond earlier, there was a James Bond game called Everything or Nothing, which is my personal favourite James Bond game. That had a lot of cover shooting as well, not to the extent and the fluidity of what Gears of War brought to the table, but those definitely lay the foundation to what would develop into Gears of War and that kind of mid 2000s P filter cover shooters that were everywhere. But yeah, no, Gears is just amazing. Like, I love Gears of War, and it's one of those ones you look at it and you just think it's all just kind of like a kind of shooter, and that's really it. With the amount of character, the comedy that's in it, because it is very funny as well, but it's very moving, especially once you get to the second and third. I mean, there's some heartstrings getting tugged there.
Yeah. No, at Summer Game Fest there was some game that had the audacity to use Mad World in its trailer, but it was like a modern cover of the Gary Jules version. So it was the very melancholic. Well, the original's melancholic as well, but no, it's just the cheek.
No, I remember the trailer itself. It was Beauty Destroyed, and it was like that kind of Eastern European like architecture, and it just looked amazing. It was so good. After the kind of high of being happy about Gears of War, we were brought down to earth with, and I know it's huge, and I'm only being a dick, right? But Persona 4 Revival, right? Okay, cool.
Moving on.
Yeah, no, well, to be fair, it is going to Game Pass, so I imagine. Is this the one that was like a remake of a 2008 game? It came out in 2008, is that right?
Yeah, maybe not. Well, maybe it was 2008. I can't remember.
There's been that many Personas. I have a good friend Greg who loves Persona Gold, and I think that's 5. But there's been that many. It's like Persona 5 Gold Ultimate, whatever, So
it's up there with Street Fighter 2 editions.
Aye. I remember there was a Street Fighter EX 2 Plus Tournament Edition. And you're just like, what is this? So yeah, no, like Persona just isn't my thing. I think you'd said you'd played it for 3 hours and had 20 minutes of gameplay or something. Is that right?
Persona 5, yeah, like I was like 3 hours into the game, and it kept doing this frustrating thing of like you would walk like 5 or 6 paces, and then it would pull you into not combat, but a speech or a narration, and you'll be speaking to another member of your party or one of your friends, and it just happened all the time, and it just utterly broke up the fluidity of the game. And I spoke to my friend who's probably approaching like 100 hours in the game, and he's like, oh yeah, it's like that up to the first like 20 hours, it's like a tutorial, but after you get past that it gets good. And I went, that's nearly a day of my life playing just a damn tutorial in a game. Like, it might be one of the best games ever made, but I've got Expedition 33, and that's holding my attention, and it doesn't handhold as much.
No, listen, absolutely, that's it. But it's got a huge audience. I'm sure everybody's going to be excited when that comes out in 2026. I think it said. Sea of Thieves has a new expansion, Season 17, Smugglers, and I think it's just Smugglers Tide, but I thought it was Smugglers and Tide, but yeah, Smugglers Tide. I don't really know what's going on gameplay wise, because last time I played it was so bare bones, so 2018 probably was when I played it, but yeah, no, it's got a huge following, it's on everything. Go and play it. It looks beautiful, just again, I'm not really into multiplayer games.
It looks like it's another faction to level up and be involved with, and can I get a specialised loot through doing smuggler missions like you would do the Gold Hoarders or the oh my god, I love Sea of Thieves and I forget the name of the one, Order of Souls, and then you would get the merchants, and then there's other things come into it since then, but it just seems like it's another faction to kind of pad out the game, which if they're adding more things in and it's not just more of the last thing I played was the Monkey Island Tall Tale, I think they called it, a Pirate's Tale.
Oh yeah, because they've done a lot of story-driven stuff. There was a Pirates of the Caribbean one as well, I believe, is that right?
Yeah, that was the first one, and Monkey Island. Monkey Island has one of the best soundtracks in gaming history. I don't care what people say, and just every time I hear those kettle drums, it just puts a smile on my face.
No, listen, what it's about, man. As I say, it's not for me, but like I love when there's, especially between brands, there's synergy for things at work. You know, like I'm surprised there wasn't Monkey Island references in Assassin's Creed Black Flag. You know, back. I'm sure there is. I just never found them. But yeah, no, if it makes sense, it makes sense. So you know, get it in there. After that, we then went on to Invincible Versus. It's a 3v3 fighter coming out in 2026. Look, it looks cool. I think I'd said, obviously, I think some of the character designs are just not to my taste. I think they're a bit bland, but I've watched the first season of the show. You're a bit higher on it than what I am, and I've saw probably all of it. No, looks cool, looks ultra violent. I mean, what more do you want?
Yeah, it's got enough characters that it doesn't have to just be... I know Omni-Man was in Mortal Kombat 1 as one of the DLC characters, but... Yeah. No, it's got its own cast and roster of characters that it can carry itself, and yeah. Because
what was the name of the I find the animation in the TV show to be quite, I don't know, like
basic.
I don't like it. I think it's almost like it's missing frames. But I remember is it the Crawler twins or something? The two big blue guys.
Oh yeah.
They're very funny. So I imagine they'll be in it. Which will be cool. So, and if they're not, then there should be DLC. But yeah, no, that's coming out next year. I'm surprised you're actually still in the kind of conversation and no wanting to just go and grab. And this is huge. Final Fantasy VII Remake,
which
Intergrade?
Is the So that's the Intergrade was released after. I think it was when the PS5 released. They put like an extra kind of couple of chapters in to introduce you to the character of Yuffie. So that's going to be the edition that comes out for Xbox Series. Sorry, let me just click and see what coming to Xbox Series, PC, and Xbox Cloud. Play anywhere.
No Game Pass.
Coming this winter. And that wasn't the only Final Fantasy news. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, of course. Sorry. Yeah. So yeah, it never came out. It was announced that it's coming. So the exclusivity deal with PlayStation's obviously up. It must have been 5.5 years because that definitely came out during COVID. Because everybody was losing their mind for that, and I was losing my mind playing Digimon World New Order. So
if that's the case, though, you might wait like another 3.5-4 years, and you might get part 2 as well, just in time for the third one.
So yeah, it must be, and then it's quite funny. Speaking of exclusivity deals, that definitely aren't. They definitely don't have exclusivity deals anymore. When Wukong is coming out a year to the day that it came out in PlayStation, bit bizarre bit weird that.
But the other big exclusive Final Fantasy is that Final Fantasy 16 is coming to Xbox. Oh, no, it's not coming. It is on Xbox.
Today. Shadow drop, baby.
It dropped on the Xbox store while we were recording this, because I've just checked it on my app as well. That
I'd say to you, I didn't know anything about it, so I saw some of the clips. That looks crazy. The graphics are wild. It's definitely one to pick up, and I don't know who does it, because I love like the Pokemon artwork, the watercolour for back in the day. Is it Ken Sugimori? I think does it. I don't know who does the artwork for Final Fantasy, but that and the Metal Gear Solid artwork I used to be like, that looks so cool. You know, the kind of hand drawn, washed out kind of blues and reds. Like, love it. So and it's got it. So that's quite exciting.
It reminds me a bit. Like, I'm sitting here. I was a big fan of Vampire Hunter D, which I know is an anime. Don't hate me. But also it was a series of books beforehand and graphic novels. And I'm looking at one of the books just now, and it tells you the author. But also tells you the illustration is by Yoshitaka Amano, and it's very similar to the kind of Final Fantasy. So, I'm going to have him. Yeah.
No, that's pretty cool. That leads us into kind of where we start to kind of close the show. So, Keeper from Double Fine, that was announced. That's coming October 17th, coming to Game Pass. and as of now, it's only on Xbox, but I imagine that will go to all platforms eventually. You hit out with Howl's Moving Lighthouse. I will be stealing that and using that in everyday conversation.
It was Yoshitaka.
Looks very interesting.
Sorry. I googled it. It was Yoshitaka Amano. It does the Final Fantasy artwork.
Oh, there you go then. All these years, I never thought to just go, who is the artist? Google or ChatGPT. Who is that? But yeah, no, Double Fine Keeper looks quirky, looks interesting, and as soon as we saw Double Fine, we were like, that makes absolute sense, because basically you're a walking lighthouse with a dodo on top of your kind of the top of the lighthouse, and it looks really interesting.
Interesting. I believe the word I used quite a lot was unsettling, like the way the lighthouse moves.
Yeah,
but
it kind of sways. Like I don't know if that plays into, if you're pushing forward and it sways to the left, the character will move to the left, or if it's just animation. But yeah, it looks really interesting.
But nice to see Double Fine. Is this Double Fine's first outing since Psychonauts 2?
Yeah,
which I loved.
Yeah.
I loved Psychonauts 2. But the unsettling thing becomes very clear when you realise Tim Schafer's linked to it.
Yeah.
But
when you see, I mean, the dentist levels in those games look kind of freaked me out. The Psychonauts, so yeah.
That was the opening level to Psychonauts 2 was the dentistry level. But
I only played a little bit of that, but one of the kind of funny things I found out, and it wasn't until, like, you know, after I never finished the second game. I played a little bit of it, and I never played the original, so I was like, oh, and I tried to go back and play that. But the main character's voiced by, I'm not sure who, but they voice Alpha 5 for Power Rangers. That was pretty cool. Aye.
That's quite cool.
I never knew that. So it kind of came out of that, and as soon as I heard that, I was like, oh my god, I can hear it. So yeah, no, that was quite cool. But maybe I want to go back and play. It could be, as I say, one of my Christmas games, because if there's two shorter ones, I can get that chucked in. Did you finish Psychonauts 2?
I did finish Psychonauts 2. I didn't. I'd played a little bit of the first one on like Xbox Cloud streaming. Got a Kishi to hook up to my phone, so I was playing that, and because it's a very kind of low base graphics game, it didn't need a lot. But yeah, talking about a platformer that originally came out on PS2, so it probably doesn't hold up as well to. Was it a particularly long game? Is that something you could maybe do in a weekend? Oh, I mean, I played maybe like an hour or two of it, and then I was like, nah, I'll watch a YouTube video. But actually, the beginning of Psychonauts 2 does a really good job of recapping the first game, so you don't.
Oh, fair enough.
I wouldn't say it's a necessity to play the first one.
No, that's not too bad. Then Big Phil Spencer comes up looking trim, and I think we were. So my notes, I was writing these notes as the next trailer came up. So he does his usual, like, thanks everybody for coming, and then he says, and one last thing to leave you with, and here we go, rubbing our hands together, because what he says was, next year it's the 25th anniversary of Xbox, so we're going to have Gears of War E-Day, Fable, there's a new Forza, whether or not it's Horizon they don't say, and the return of a classic, and then he's like, we'll be seeing you next year, that's exciting and stuff, and then he goes, one last thing. So I'm writing this as this trailer comes on, very interesting trailer. I put down Guy for Heroes, I don't know if you got his name yet, Peter Petrelli.
2 seconds, because I got the name Milo.
I think you might be right, by the way. So that Guy for Heroes, which is a deep cut for anybody who's over the age of kind of 20, 25, you'll maybe remember it being huge. Anybody before that would be like, what is this? So Guy for Hero comes in. I'm like, they keep mentioning the Guild. I'm like, the Guild ? It's very Remedy-esque, and then all of a sudden it pops up Call of Duty Black Ops 5, and we're going to make this explicit. You and I said in unison, fuck off.
I mean, because we were looking at is this Remedy? Like, is this maybe like something to do with Control 2? Like, the whole thing was very Inception-y, with like a world kind of unfolding on itself, and like there was like trying to blur the lines between kind of digital reality and actual reality. Maybe I'm reading far too much into this, but do I dare say that they've hired like story writers for Call of Duty? That I'm going to get so much hate for that, because people love their Call of Duties, but it's not
I only
known
play
for
it. I
having
do
like.
actually. I don't play it online. I tend to just play the campaigns, but I would play the more recent ones, especially the is it Modern Warfare remake kind of trilogy that they've done. But they've got 2 and they've got 3, but they don't have the first one. I was like, I'm not going to play that. And then the likes of Call of Duty Black Ops, the most recent ones. I've Cold War. I've not played that purely just because I know that there's ones before it, and Xbox are just sitting on the fact that they've no added the back catalogue of COD games, which I thought they were going to do today at some point, to Game Pass. So yeah, I'll hold off. But yeah, no, this one looks interesting. I was just, you and I couldn't believe that it was a COD game.
No, it's definitely looks as though they're putting a heavy focus on the story, rather, because I know last year they were all singing, all dancing on the new mechanics for online, and your kind of the gameplay was got all these extra accesses and how
it was like you could dive and you could turn and that. But the story did look good. It was Cold War, so there was like there was like things with like Bill Clinton on it, and I'm surprised they're getting away using real people. Listen, I'm sure it'll be like a summer blockbuster in the middle of October when it comes out, and it'll be its usual. Folk will be like, I'm not buying it, and then next thing you know, your entire friends kind of book, on like your online is just everybody playing it. So it'll be exciting for the folk that want it.
First party Xbox game, which means day one Game Pass.
Yeah, and they were saying that any game going forward or from any of the first party studios will be on there. So the COD was always a big one because I think to get it through the FTC they had to make some kind of deal where they were like, like it won't be on straight away. And then last year it was on straight away, and I think it must have done well enough that they're happy with that and they'll carry that forward. So yeah,
the way Xbox is going just now with like releasing a lot of their first party titles multi-platform, and the fact that Gears is probably going to print money for them, a game that's how many years old, and
Gears of War.
Yeah.
So it'll be 19 years when that comes out. It came out in 2006.
A brand new platform, not a brand new platform, but a new platform. And
yeah, well, you've had, what is that? So it came out in 360, so that was PS3. So you've had 3 generations since then.
You might not get like kind of younger audience, but how many people jumped from like Xbox 360 to PS4, and you're going to get that nostalgia crowd back in playing it. And
the amount of people that left Xbox 360 because of the botched launch of the Xbox One maybe haven't played Gears since then, so they'll be over the moon. And then people that haven't left, that still have friends on PlayStation, you'll be able to do crossplay. That's incredible. Like that to me is huge.
It is, but going back to the point where I was trying to make.
Sorry.
I've nearly lost it. It's still hanging in the back of my head there. Like, I don't believe for a second they were ever going to make Call of Duty an exclusive, because it's possibly still like the biggest franchise in gaming, and the fact that you're excluding like the biggest console majority in PlayStation away from it, that was never going to happen. No,
absolutely. I think one of the kind of mad stats over the last 20 years, the only years that it never outsold were like if a Rockstar game was released, if it was the highest selling game of the year, was when Rockstar released their games, and then it was 2 years ago with Harry Potter or the Hogwarts Legacy game. That's the only time in like 20 years that they haven't been the top selling game.
Really?
That's crazy. Yeah, it was something like that. Something I know definitely Hogwarts Legacy beat it, because that sold like 23 million units. Plus, obviously, it had like the rest, because that came out like February time, so it had like the full year to sell. But Call of Duty, the midnight launches for that used to be crazy.
Midnight launches in general used to be a crazy thing.
Funnily enough, just with one of my friends, Kyle, was going to get a Nintendo Switch on Thursday, was it released? Mm-hmm. And he was telling me like I had to queuing lines and stuff, and I actually kind of cast my mind back to some of the midnight launches that I went to. I think the last one would have been like a Call of Duty Black Ops. I remember having a lanyard, and I used to wear it when I was a support worker around the office just with my keys and stuff, and it was chaos. I remember the queue was that long that the HMV staff, if anybody remembers, there was a big HMV at the far side of Braehead, which I think now is like a Poundland or something.
TK Maxx, I think.
Is that what it is now? Yeah. So you were in there. The queue was that long. They were giving out copies, or they were giving out handheld Game Boy DSs because people were getting that bored. They were just letting them play it. I thought it was quite a nice touch. That was pretty cool.
Was it you that was telling me about you went to a midnight launch of a game that you didn't actually care about and asked for like?
So again, it was a Call of Duty. I went. I was deep in the trenches of playing Dragon Age, and I'd done like all the DLC, and I had the gear. Dragon Age 2 was out by this point, and I took my mate to go and get it. It must have been whatever came out in 2012. I'm not sure what one that was. It might have been a Black Ops, and it might have been like maybe the last. What do you call it? You know, the Modern Warfare ones. And when I was in there, everybody was buying that, obviously, and I just went with my mate Jamie to go and get it, Harvey, and I went and got the what do you call it, the picked up Dragon Age, and the guy's like, "You sure you want this?" I was like, of course. So that was it. But yeah, no, midnight launches, man, take me back.
That's a bit distant memory now. Don't imagine much of them could be happening.
Well, the usual has happened. We've ended up an hour and 40 minutes out of nowhere. So if you're still here, I really appreciate it. Thank you very much for listening. You can get us at the usual places at thewhiskeysourhour.com, Facebook and Instagram. You want to get in touch with us, contact at thewhiskeysourhour.com. We're on all major streaming platforms. Please give us a listen, give us a like, share, subscribe. You know how it is. Petrie, anything happening with yourself? Have you got anything on?
Not at the moment. No, nothing personal to plug. Just keep following Thomas, and if you're fed up of listening to me, just let him know, and you can get somebody else on for the gaming episodes.
Not at all. Well, listen, I'll sign us off there. It's been an hour and 40 minutes, and it's flown in, and I hope it's flown in for you as well. I've been Thomas Waddle. This has been Calum Petrie, and you've been listening to the Whisky Sour Hour. Cheers. Stop that right there.